Welcome to the 147th episode of News Dump, where we run through the hottest topics in the Lewis County news scene and discuss. I'm local man Aaron VanTuyl, joined by Chronicle Editor-in-Chief Eric Schwartz and Chronicle Assistant Editor Isabel Vander Stoep. And we're joined in spirit by sponsors Summit Funding and The Roof Doctor. It has been 2 weeks since you last heard from us. Has anything exciting happened to either of you?
Personally?
Whatever. This is just kind of the intro banter section. If you have something good, throw it out. Otherwise, we'll get into these hot news items.
I saw a Lewis County commissioner in Chelan County over the weekend.
Wow. What was he up to?
He was hanging out with his wife.
What was he or she up to?
It was Scott Brummer. Balance of probability, it's going to be a man, right?
True.
It was Scott Brummer. He was with his wife. They were traveling through. They were like, hey, what's up? It was very jarring, but nice.
Was it like when you're a kid and you see your teacher at the grocery store?
A lot like that, yes.
Schwartz, anything big for you?
No, I almost went to the chicken races yesterday, as you know.
You want to tell us your tale?
No, not really. I showed up early, left, didn't come back. Emily Fitzgerald saved the day. Shot photos.
Tell us your tail feathers, as it were.
Ha ha ha!
LOL.
Mm-hmm.
Big crowd, though. Huge crowd. Chicken races are a big deal.
Apparently. All right, news items. First up, remembering Harold Borovic, father, husband, mentor, and a community and railroad icon. He passed away at age 96 on June 10th. In life, Harold had a profound impact on the Chehalis community, his family, and the steam trains he carried a lifelong passion for. In death, Harold is remembered as a community icon and a good man for his part in restoring the number 15 locomotive and helping run the Chehalis Centralia Railroad and Museum. The organization has informally called Harold Borovic its, quote, founder and father. A celebration of his life will be held at 2 p.m. on July 29th at the First Christian Church in Chehalis. That's Thursday?
July 29th.
Oh, July 29th. That is several weeks away.
I thought this was probably the best story that we had in the paper in the last week. Emily Fitzgerald did such a good job with it. She's covered the railroad and museum happenings for a while now because they've had all sorts of stuff going on with their insurance and whatnot, and that's given her some rapport with the organization and just people who are involved in it. And she talked to a lot of Harold's friends and family members, and it was just a really sweet, heartwarming story about his life. Yeah.
Schwartz, anything to add?
No, yeah, Emily did a great job. Julie McDonald also had a column on him that was pretty good that you can read at Cronline.
Okay, now for a story about a bunch of cool stuff like parties and fun and love and people. And, now the Department of Fish and Wildlife has tuned out. We can discuss the Doty deer.
See, that was the roast that I wanted to do.
Okay. Well, I stampeded all over it.
It's all right. It's okay.
Isabel wrote the notes and had a few sections she wanted to intro, and that was one of them.
I just wanted to talk about the Doty deer, but if you're from any state agency that has to do with the environment or the outdoors.
And murdering animals?
Just don't listen, maybe. No. Just maybe don't listen to anything I have to say. So after an injured fawn in her backyard cried for 2 days, Doty resident Wanda Bowers tried calling every agency she could think of, including the you-know-who, but none wanted to intervene. And because she has a tender heart and is a good person and would do what anyone who is a good person would do, she started providing it goat's milk. And about a year later, the deer is still a friendly member of the neighborhood. She hangs out. Her name is Butter. Hangs out around all over the place. Is friendly to the kids. Everybody loves her. She comes and goes as she pleases. She's still very much a wild animal, but she's just very nice.
How did you hear about this story?
People were posting on a Facebook group.
You didn't get an electronic message about it? Any butter emails?
Okay. Actually, after I posted about it, someone did email me to give me Wanda's information. So I guess you could say I did have a butter email.
All right. Cool story.
Yeah,
good animal. Fun. Good animal coverage.
It's going to end up in the back seat of a town car with a blindfold on its head. Just wait and see.
Who do you think drives the town car that would kidnap a deer?
Fish and Wildlife, man.
You don't think they have trucks?
Not for that job.
Fool.
Not for that job. Going in the trunk.
It's just like, if I kill a deer in my backyard, I'm poaching. But if they kill one in a little sweet old lady's backyard, they're just doing their jobs.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can tell how I feel about Fish and
Yeah,
Wildlife.
you're pro
How are you gonna feel when
butter
that
on this
deer
one.
turns on her,
Yeah.
stomps her, bites her?
Oh,
Yeah,
but
the
it's
tables
so
will be turned
sweet.
when butter spreads her.
Okay.
Next story. 4 Lewis County LGBTQ plus advocate sites vandalized in one night, early the morning of Saturday, June 24th, which was 2 days ago. A Morton business was one in a string of 4 locations significant to the Lewis County Dignity Guild that were vandalized. They smashed in 4 full-size windows at the 3 other sites, including the rainbow painted fence in Chehalis. The friendship fence was splattered with black paint. The organization's new headquarters in Chehalis near the county courthouse had several windows broken, and a flagpole that hosted a pride flag was bent and the flag stolen. Work parties for repairing the various locations have been scheduled. The first was today in Morton. The friendship fence in Chehalis will be repainted by a work party beginning at 8 a.m. on Friday. Not great. Leave people's shit alone.
Yeah. It sucks. They're very clearly related. Obviously, you can't say that outright in the story because it's like not proven, but the people who are involved in this were like very certain. I mean, the different events happened sequentially, probably like 10 to 15 minutes after one another for the ones in Chehalis, and then the one in Morton was like almost exactly an hour after that. So yeah, it's a bummer. It's definitely not cool.
Yeah, I agree. Schwartz, where were you Saturday night? In your pool?
Floating in my pool, yeah.
Sure you
I
were.
was. You can find me there most of the time.
Next item. Tangentially related, maybe? Pollock doubles down on criticism after outrage from Lewis County Republicans. On June 8th, as we discussed last episode, a neo-Nazi group came to Lewis County Pride event to counter-protest. The same day, a pop-up tent of Lewis County Republicans was erected near a drag show in Chehalis. Lewis County Commissioner Lindsay Pollock, in the days following, drew comparisons between the two groups' behaviors and said both were set out to, quote, intimidate a minority group. She said, quote, when leaders of our Republican Party make common cause with Nazis, they forfeit their claim to speak for us. Their leadership is malignant, repulsive, and deserving of public repudiation. Then, the next week, County Republican Party members came to a Board of County Commissioners meeting and repudiated her statements, calling them slanderous and demanding an apology. In response, she doubled down, saying they harassed people who were heading to the drag show. Party Chair Brandon Svensson sort of said the same thing in reverse, but didn't blame people for being angry about the pop-up after he realized those folks likely thought his group was affiliated with the neo-Nazis. He said they are definitely not affiliated. Finally, she brought up both the party and one of her seatmates recently used terms, quote, groomers to describe drag performers. She called it a very inappropriate, derogatory line of thinking.
Yeah, I wrote those notes up. Do you guys think I'm missing anything here? I forgot to check my agenda before I wrote the notes.
No, I think you got it all.
I haven't been following a lot of news lately. I did see this headline, and I decided, you know what, I'm not gonna break my no news week of June to read this. I feel like I know what happened.
Far too busy.
Yeah, I don't know. Like as far as the Lewis County Republicans setting up their booth opposite the drag show, and then the Nazis just happen to show up and be kind of speaking out against the same thing. I just pack it up and go home. Like you're not losing any face there. Like, just take yourself out of the situation.
The Republicans were there to get signatures, right, for the initiative against the law that allows shelters not to contact parents if the child seeking gender-affirming care.
Yeah,
Get that right?
yeah, Senate Bill 5599, I think. Yeah. They are hoping to get signatures to overturn that, and that is why they were out there. And they definitely, at least what I gleaned from both the public comment and talking to the party chair, Brandon Svensson, about this, that they very intentionally set up kind of near this drag show because they were saying, oh, well, minors are going into that. And this is like, to them, it's a similar kind of thing. And yeah, so that sort of spurred all of this. I kind of like see all the sides of it. That's just what, comes from probably talking to all these people and writing about it. But I could understand the frustration if you thought these groups were out to do the same thing. And one of them is clearly like, just hateful. And then I also understand like wanting to distance yourself from that if you're the Republicans. And I'm glad that they're doing that, I'm glad that they don't want to be affiliated with them.
Yeah, and they were responsive. Brandon Svensson was responsive and rejected the white supremacists right away. Not to defend them at all. I'm kind of with Aaron in that that day, you knew early in the day that the neo-Nazi clowns were in town, and you even knew that they were going to go to Chehalis. Like, it was posted everywhere. It would have been hard to ignore unless you just don't have any connections on Facebook or whatever. Yeah, pack it up. I was just like, pack it up, and, it was a good idea before they showed up, but let's get out of here.
It's also something to think about. I'm reasonably certain there were more neo-Nazis in Chehalis at that event than there were gender-affirming surgeries performed on minors in Washington State in the last year. So maybe just, some just for comparison's sake.
I don't know that.
What are we yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I
Your point doesn't matter is what I meant.
Okay.
Everything else does.
Okay.
think obviously there are some pieces of this that are missing. Like I don't know everything that the neo-Nazi group did. I could see that there was at least like in a video they posted that they were in front of Market Street Pub, and I saw that they were sharing the like flyer for the drag show, but I wasn't in town that night and I don't know like where they were and what they were doing. And then there's also this kind of added layer of some people were upset that there was at least one Republican Party leader who was taking photos of people. And then Svensson was like, yeah, I don't think that was cool. I don't think that should happen again. And so, I don't know. There's all these other kind of layers of this whole thing. And I'm just kind of trying to like make sure that I'm just saying what I know to be true, from the county perspective. So I don't know, but I know that writing stories about this kind of stuff, you're not going to make anybody happy, let alone everyone.
Well, moving on to a story that has nothing to do with anybody in a position of power in the local Republican Party. Morton Police Chief resigned in lieu of termination after failing polygraph. Documents indicate Roger Morningstar was allowed to tender his resignation in lieu of termination after he failed a polygraph exam conducted as part of an internal investigation into multiple complaints. Quote, Officer Morningstar was the subject of a sexual harassment complaint, which led to other complaints, including but not limited to the misuse of public funds, conduct unbecoming an officer, and other allegations related to sexual activities while on duty. Oh, gross.
Yeah.
Reads a statement which was submitted by the city of Morton to the Criminal Justice Training Center. Use of force and sexual harassment were among the alleged forms of misconduct, according to the form. He really just went out and hit for the bad cop cycle there, didn't he?
Well, we don't know the details yet, but that
allegedly.
It doesn't look good. You are correct there. We don't know what specifically he failed in the polygraph as to each one of those things, but I don't know. It's kind of like a slow motion crash in this case, and we will eventually get everything, and then we'll have details.
Yeah. Whomst could have imagined such a thing coming?
Whomst.
Yeah, I don't know. Sure. Any comment, Isabel?
I don't know. It's
You
just
applying to be Morton's next police chief?
me and all my experience, in law enforcement.
Yeah. Are they going to dig up the Trump Tower in his yard and look for evidence of any wrongdoing there?
I'll really be interested to see what the city releases from its internal investigation. And, it sounds like if there are these many various complaints against Morningstar from the city and you have to, it says like multiple complaints, you have to think that's probably from multiple people. I imagine the city is probably happy that he's gone.
Yeah.
That's all
I can imagine so.
I don't know.
Anyway, all right. Yeah. Next item, the lupine.
Lupin.
Wrong on both counts.
All right. Boisfort Dairy Farmers' efforts, a model on prairie conservation. This Boisfort Valley farm was the first in Lewis County and the fourth in Washington to be certified organic. Now they protect many of Washington's most endangered plants, including the rare Kincaid's lupin, which is the only plant that hosts an even more rare butterfly. They got a lot of flack from their neighbors for their conservation efforts, but they've also become a model for farms across the Pacific Northwest. Whose farm is this?
The Malanies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just wanted a little palate cleanser on there, you know?
Uh-huh.
And this was a really fun story for me. The Malanies are really, really sweet people, and their conservation and farming methods are really interesting. And yeah, there you go. It's just a little breather after that long list of news items.
Yeah.
I've got one headline that didn't make the list that I feel
Go
compelled
on.
to add.
Please do.
Washington Roofing Company fined $442,000 for safety violations.
Go on.
You want to guess which roofing company this is not?
It's not the roof doctor.
Never. The thought didn't even cross my mind. I saw this headline float by, and I'm like, I wonder which struggling competitor is hurting this time.
Maybe they should have advertised on News Dump.
I'm going to find out after this. They actually also advertise. Always Roofing is the one that had to pay. I honestly, after reading the story, I don't know how they are still in business. They've had 100 safety violations in the last 10 years. Many for repeated willful failure to wear fall protection. And the most recent citation brings the total fines against the company to more than $3 million since 2019.
What do you
That's
think? Like,
heavy.
what is fall protection? Like
a rope? I don't know. A helmet?
Like a hard hat, yeah.
I'm covered as long as I land on my head.
I just like imagining all these always roofing folks just like clinging to the top of a roof, like the spire, and just like hammering.
Willfully, too. That's what really gets me, is you're like, no, I don't want the protection.
Classic like Lord of the Rings meme. No. Take care of yourself and your employees. No.
Should we do the roof doctor ad now?
That was kind of my intention.
A family-owned company for over 50 years. You can give them a call locally at 360-736-0246.
Nice.
Doing all kinds of roofing repair. And you know what they'll offer you? Free estimates.
No way.
Yeah. Do we have any new reviews?
No, but I wanted to add that the Roof Doctor's reputation is watertight. Their website says so. And you should check out their brand new website. It's theroofdoctor.com.
I think that there was a review that you've yet to have read on the podcast, but you can save it if you want to.
Well, see, the old site
I
had all of them listed. This one just has the same rotating 3. I imagine they just, you run out of space on your server for so many
you have
positive
so many
estimates.
reviews.
Yeah.
I get it.
But yeah, if you're curious what MH and Olympia, JB and Shayless, or SC and Olympia has to say, you can find it by scrolling down to the bottom of theroofdoctor.com.
Okay.
Roof Doctor.
We are going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Jasek from Summit Funding. Here's what a recent client is saying about us.
Hi, this is Chad Taylor. Have you been thinking about purchasing or refinancing your current home? The team at Summit Funding is the best in class. Looking for a conventional FHA, VA, USDA, jumbo, or even a reverse mortgage? Trust the team at Summit Funding. Corley and I did, and we couldn't be happier.
Thank you to all of our past clients. If you have any questions, give us a call at 360-330-4037.
All right, we're back. It's time for segments. First up, Tales from the Takes page, where we cover what's going on in the opinion section. And first up, commentary, why not a city pool in Centralia? This is from Jamie Lund, who wrote about the Pearl Street pool. It's the Veterans Memorial Pool, right?
Yeah,
or it was.
Memorial Pearl Street Pool.
I kind of read that headline more as like, why not a city pool in Centralia? You know what I mean? Like, why not, rather than why not a city pool? You know what I mean? Like he's saying why there isn't going to be one.
Why? Question mark. Not a city pool in Centralia. He wrote about the pool being filled in and said the liability, insurance, and building regulations all contributed to the downfall of the pool. He says for good things to be accessible for the community, its culture should shift from defaulting to government management and towards volunteerism.
You know who I bet would agree with that? Eric Schwartz.
Yeah.
Absolutely right, I do.
Yeah, you want your kids playing in a pool with volunteer lifeguards?
Well, I have a pool, Aaron. I think we've already been over this.
Twice today, actually.
It's quite large. No, I actually thought it was a great column by Jamie, and it added some nuance, I thought, to the discussion, because mostly we just hear, I'm very upset that the pool's not here, or this is why that we shouldn't have a pool, et cetera, et cetera. And I actually think he makes really good points. I would say during that same era or thereabouts, we were also stuffing cars into the banks of the Chehalis River to stop erosion. And while it has worked, I don't think everything we did back then was great, but I do think it should be a little easier to get things done. And I do think, as we were discussing off mic, that our government is a bit too bulky and invasive, and in many cases, worthless.
Oh, wow. Look at you. Do you want to brag about your pool anymore?
Speaking specifically to state government here.
If your pool was any smaller, sir, it would qualify as Tupperware.
I mean, you have to think that in like a good, like progressing culture and society, we would have more regulations around safety at pools in the 2020s than we had in the 1950s. I should hope so, you know? But I also agree that, like, I kind of agree with his sentiment of, like, be the change you want to see. And if you really are upset about the fact that your government or your local government isn't doing anything about this pool, like, maybe you could, like, volunteer to go help and get, like, your hands on it, which I think that many of the Stoep people did. I mean, there was, I can't remember her name, but she offered to pay for that, like, ballot measure.
Joyce Barnes.
That's it, yeah. And, you know, maybe if we had more people like her.
Yeah. All right.
Dig a hole, fill it with water. That's what I say.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
we do
you
have
can have
that,
a pool
too.
Aaron.
I have a river, sir.
Well,
Nobody ever complains about me not cleaning my river.
it's true.
Here's a surprise. Bill Moeller also wrote about the pool. His column, Feeling Angry and Disappointed About the Pearl Street Pool. He is more commenting in a despair sort of way.
Threatening to curse.
Yeah.
Almost.
His motto against that transfer of ownership was, never sell land. You'll regret it someday.
Yeah. Sounds like something my grandparents would say.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Bill Moeller's got a column. Read it at cronline.com. And then we have a column from Johnny McCroskey asking, in his headline, more questions in Aaron Christensen death investigation. After throwing big swings at the libs and everything wrong with the country,
Your criticism of John can't be the same every week.
he puts on the kitty gloves and lightly taps at the sheriff's office to be like, are we sure they did a bad job? I have questions, but I'm not going to ask them. Anyway,
I thought the former sheriff did just fine. He talked about how he spoke with a member of Aaron Christensen's family after his last column on it, which I thought was interesting that they reached out to him. And he continues to just have the overall message that, you know, the sheriff and prosecutor should share everything they have, or at least share more with the public. And that otherwise rumors are just going to run rampant. I get that it's not the fiery pull your finger out take of yours, Aaron. Has been appropriated by others, by the way. It's caught on in the community.
Yeah.
But I thought it was fine.
I think actually the only thing I didn't like about this McCroskey column, and I kind of doubt that he actually thinks this way, but the way that he wrote it was like they reached out to me, the Christensen family, and I was really surprised that they were normal, rational people. Like that's kind of the way that it came across. Although, other than that, I thought that I think he actually is speaking on behalf of a lot of like engaged conservative people in this community, and kind of knowing that this issue of like when someone doesn't see justice is not a partisan issue. I think it's valuable to have people from all sides of the gamut talking about it.
I continue to think of it a little like it's, he used to be sheriff. It's not a great look to come at the person that is sheriff and has all the information, presumably.
Sure.
And, enter a half-cocked opinion of some sort. I don't know. If I was no longer editor and say Isabel was editor and I thought she finds herself in controversy, the last thing I would do would publicly give my opinion on it. Like, if anything, I'd probably reach out to her and tell her how to do it correctly.
Well, you remember all my columns from earlier in the spring when Alec was in charge, and they were like, Chronicle sports coverage sucks.
Yeah.
One thing I noted while reading this is McCroskey has a section in here. I have seen another option used, and that is completely under the control of a county elected official, a coroner's inquest. Well, our coroner could call a jury to look into the death and, if possible, determine the manner and cause of death and even blame, which is interesting because McCroskey was sheriff during the Rhonda Reynolds suicide.
I think that's what he's alluding to.
Which he said was a suicide. And it's interesting he makes that as we have a headline from 2011, Rhonda Reynolds inquest jury, it was murder. Like, what? It just seems like counterintuitive to me.
What does?
McCroskey was sheriff and kept claiming the Reynolds thing was suicide. And he's saying, why don't they bring in an inquest? The last time that was used, it determined that the sheriff was wrong and it was murder.
Well, maybe that's
He
what
was
he
the
wants
sheriff.
to happen.
I took that as his point.
Yeah, I kind of did
maybe
too.
it's surprising.
I mean, he was the sheriff at the time. He wasn't the guy physically doing the investigation. I'm sure there's a good chance that questions arose, and it was helpful to have someone else. I covered that inquest, by the way.
Adam Pearson covered that inquest, sir.
I covered it when he left, midway through the inquest. Don't
Mid-quest?
question me.
Mid-quest?
Shoot your shot. You best not miss.
All right. Anyway, yeah, I read it differently.
No, I get you. I understand what you're saying, too. It probably would have been easier to just give details there and like a specific example, but yeah.
The only specific example, really.
I don't know. I don't know if we've had other inquests.
I think that we need to talk about the most interesting and the best letter to the editor this week.
What justifies Tacoma-powered dams in Lewis County?
Yeah. I pulled out my favorite snippets of this one. You want to take it?
No, you go ahead.
All right. This is from... Oh, you guys have to open it up because I am not on my computer.
Hold on.
It was an On Alaska...
Opening. Brian
Stewart, I think, right?
It is from...
Yeah.
Yes.
Brian Stewart in On Alaska writes, a recent article highlighted the lackluster job Tacoma, quote, public utilities has done with offering residents promised recreational opportunities at Rife Lake. It was a promise to offset the cost of hosting a for-profit, quote, government agency's cash crop. If Lewis County residents are, and then this is like a later on, he says, if Lewis County residents are exposed to catastrophic flooding, have little or no access to Rife Lake, no meaningful wildlife restoration, no natural river or ecology that should be there, no electricity, and do not share in the profits, why exactly have we allowed this company to work out of reach of county planning and permitting? How bad would a flood be if water was lower? Just serious? I personally feel almost exactly the same way as this guy about Tacoma Power. And I am like... I think the dams are beautiful, and I think it's, like, great that there's clean electricity. And, like, I have not had a single issue with any of the people that I've worked with who are involved in the company. But if I am somebody who benefits from the recreational opportunities or goes fishing at Rife Lake, and all of a sudden, like, all of these opportunities for that are gone and I get nothing for it, the promise has been broken. Like, I completely understand where he's coming from there. So I just thought that was really good.
Yeah, good point. We should tear down all the dams.
Some say we need one more.
Some would say. I don't know who that would be, though.
Do we have a Sirens Banger of the Week?
No, I don't think we do.
Okay.
I think we skipped that this week.
If you are sad about our lack of a Sirens Banger, go out and do a crime.
A funny one.
Yeah, not just the
with
mean
no
one.
victims. No victims.
Yeah. People's Champion of the Week, we've got Lewis County's Tree Farm of the Year. The honor went to a Randall duo, Morris Merck and Nina Boyer, who purchased a tree farm on Keona Road in Randall in 2014. that sat derelict for 8 years after being logged. Which, isn't that what you should do with a tree farm after it's been logged? Just leave it to grow more trees?
There are forestry practices that involve taking out invasive species and stuff that make it better for native plants. Mm-hmm. And so just leaving it is not usually recommended.
Just drop some pine cones there so new trees grow. Is that how the forest works?
Right.
Now it's biodiversity, and the couple's forestry methods awarded them the Lewis County Farm Forestry Association's Tree Farm of the Year honor. Good for them. And our other contender is Lewis County Community celebrates local family reunifications. Lewis County Reunification Day brings families together with child support professionals who support them in the system to celebrate successes and inspire them going forward. Parents spoke about the challenges they overcame to regain custody of their kids, and Judge Jolie Yeager said it was the best part of her job.
So we're giving it to the program?
I don't know.
No, I thought that was really cool. Another really good Emily story. And I appreciated that some of the parents that were getting their kids back were very open and candid about their experiences. One describing CPS, Child Protective Services, as kind of the villain that they later learned was a necessary turnaround for the family. So
I was kind of thinking the families in this case as the hero.
I like that one. I mean, I was going to throw out the Independence Valley chickens.
Oh yeah, that's it.
But now that just doesn't seem worth it.
You didn't see them?
No, I didn't. I saw them staged. I talked to a couple kids that had their chickens ready to go. But yes.
Now that we've got to the end of all the graduations locally, we could say the graduates.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's old
they got
news.
a diploma. What more do they want?
Yeah, go get a job.
Facebook.
I'm sorry. I was very bitter after the one graduation I attended.
Yeah. Facebook comments of the week. The only one I have is on a story about Costco offering sushi at its food court. This commenter says, "Sorry, Costco, I don't eat raw meat of any kind, and that includes fish of any kind." And somebody replied, "They'll go out of business now because you don't eat sushi."
I mean, I also don't get the sushi thing, but I didn't.
Are you scared of raw meat?
I
Coward.
don't cook it, man. I don't know. I'm not Gollum. Just gnawing on a raw fish.
Good for you.
My second Lord of the Rings reference.
Just floating around in that pool of yours, waiting for some of the bacteria because you haven't cleaned it to form into a fish.
Clean.
I would eat sushi if I could, but ye old shellfish allergy prevents me from taking part in a lot of meat
not all
that's processed with a lot of but
okay.
You're buying something in a pack that was made at a store, right? So I just try to avoid it.
What's in the next edition of the paper, which comes out tomorrow?
We've got Chehalis police seeking information on a sexual misconduct case involving a massage therapist who was arrested. Apparently, someone reported a potential assault during a massage, I believe, and then more people came forward with similar stories, and so they're asking people who might have seen this specific masseuse to come forward to help the case. We've got a small news item, but Dakota Hawkins is going to be in town to sign autographs at Kuiper's Cards in downtown Centralia.
Yeah.
He's
Cool.
a possible MLB draft participant, right? Is that right?
I heard he's supposed to go in the 7th to 10th rounds.
Oh, wow. Those are good rounds.
I think there will be more information on him and other probably local drafts in an upcoming sports section, right?
Yes, there's a story already written that I'm not sure when Josh plans to run
Awesome.
that, but it is in. I hope I didn't use the file photo that he wanted to use, but in any case.
I hope he didn't either.
The Olympian had a story, Thurston County man stabbed in the head by his child after violating protection order. You could probably find more info on that at theolympian.com. I don't like to point people to the competitors, but we just have their breaking news item on that. I'm sure they'll cover it. Matt Unzelman named Thurston County's new public works engineer. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
very cool.
Unselman. Cool.
Yeah. Port of Centralia moves to amend code of ethics. Very exciting stuff there, Aaron. I know
Man.
that's near and dear to your heart.
I'm sure.
Is Matt the eldest Unzelman brother?
He is the eldest boy, yes.
Yeah, those are the highs and lows of it. I've got some court stuff from Emily that we'll get up on Cronline tonight, and lots of chicken race photos from Emily.
Great.
She was working hard while I wasn't.
You work most weekends, but yes, Emily is.
I was hanging out with Scott Bremer at Chelan.
Emily could have been a hero of the week.
Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah.
In closing, we're sponsored by Summit Funding and The Roof Doctor. Leave a review and rating on Apple Podcast if you want. We haven't had one in a while. Leave us a review. Or don't, whatever.
He cares.
I care so much.